In the build-up to the bidding process, it becomes clear that the architect and the owner are equally unsure about the cost of the what the cost of the project will be. So, like if you imagine maybe it's a adaptive reuse, something like that, where there's quite a lot of you're unsure about what's inside once you start opening walls up, things like that. So you know there's going to be costs, but you're just not 100% sure about what's going on. And they are worried that the bidders will all come in too high for the budget availability. Check three possible elements that might be added to the bid form to help control the costs. So what could you put in the bid form to make your life better for when all the bids come in too high, that you have the ability to sort of carve the project out of it? And the answers are going to be, we have an answer for A is going to be a correct answer. C is a correct answer. D is a correct answer. Time limitation forms is that's a made-up thing, but it's kind of an interesting one. Promissory notes is something completely different, financial, but completely different. Performance bond I'll come back to in just a second. That one is actually potentially a pretty good answer, but I think allowances in this setup is actually a little bit better of an answer. So an add alt, sometimes you'll see them as deduct alt. This is where you might say, all right, here's our bid form. Our bid form is for this community center. What's the total price? That's your bid form. But then you might say, also, what if we didn't include the pool? Also, what if we didn't include the east wing that has the 3 classrooms? And that way you're getting the full price, but then you're getting a few other prices that you would be able to deduct off. How much would we save if we didn't include the pool? How much would we save if we did? Or you might do it the other way. Here's our community center. And then what if we added the pool? And what if we added the east wing that has those 3 classrooms? So a couple different ways of approach, but the idea of providing a place to be able to get information back so that when you get all those numbers, you have the ability to say, all right, the overall project, just like we were worried, came in 30% too high, but once we subtracted the deduct, now we're only 5% too high. And then that's a real conversation you can have. You might make other changes, you might not, but you're trying to give you and the owner enough information from those bidders to be able to carve the project out of it that makes sense with the budget that they have. So some other ones, the square footage unit costs for specific line items, that would be an example like, this community center would be awesome if we had terrazzo floors. They'd be durable forever. It would just be, it's a great way to do it. If you can afford it, it's going to be the absolute best. But terrazzo floors, those are going to be a lot more expensive than, say, a vinyl tile floor. So you might put the terrazzo, or you might put the vinyl tile in, and then ask for, but what if we did terrazzo? What per square foot cost would you give us if we put terrazzo in? And then that way, down the road, if we choose a bidder, they can't later sort of come up with some outrageous price for the terrazzo because they've already put it into their bid response. So that might be linear feet of a certain kind of material. It could be square footage of a certain roofing material or flooring material. It could be any number of different unit costs that you sort of have them list in order to be able to give you information after the bid, again, to craft the final project that is still promised information. It's real information from the bidders, but it's giving you this sort of ability to sort of tie everything together at the price point that actually will hopefully work. And then allowances is a little different. Allowances, that's when you're just, you're still trying to work on things. You're still trying to figure things out. Like maybe you haven't chosen all the light fixtures yet because other things are still so up in the air. And so you say, all right, as part of the allowances, you're going to put in your bid $20,000 for light fixtures. And in that process of those $20,000 for light fixtures, then we know that that will cover at least some idea of what the light fixtures would be, but we can then work to later to sort of hold back. So we're not just sort of going further and further and further along and letting the prices go astronomically high. So those are the three. The performance bond is kind of an interesting answer. The only thing that makes that not a reasonable answer is you wouldn't really put that on the bid form. But the performance bond is when an owner gets essentially an insurance policy that the bidder will actually be able to do the project for the price that they bid it at. If the bidder goes out of business during the middle of the construction and they leave, it's very, very, very expensive to get a new contractor in to sort of pick up the where they left off and get going. There's all this setup time and everything. And it's a very expensive process. And so the owner can get a performance bond saying, yes, the contractor we will guarantee, we will bond that the contractor will finish, and if they don't, then we'll find somebody who finishes it, and then we, the insurance company, will pay the extra cost. You will only ever have to pay the amount that you initially got with the original bidder. So it actually does help keep the costs in check, but only in certain situations and not really on the bid form.